It's time now for a look at the global market action this afternoon, and for that I'm joined on the line by Dr. Hwang Seiwoon, Research Fellow at the Korea Capital Market Institute. Dr. Hwang, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for inviting me today.
So the closing bell has rung on this Monday, and it looks like we started the week negative here on the Kospi. It's been 3 weeks in the red on Wall Street, too. What's happening today in Korea and around the world?
The U.S. stocks closed higher Friday, but notched weekly losses as the market worried that the U.S. China trade war is hurting economic growth. The Dow dropped 0.7% last week to post its fifth consecutive weekly decline, its longest losing streak since year 2011. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq fell for a third straight week, their longest slide since December 2018. Asian stocks kicked off Monday in mixed fashion as investors assess valuations after declines over the past 3 weeks thanks to the escalation in the U.S. and China trade tensions. The yuan steadied after China warned against shorting the currency. Japan's Topix index edged higher by 0.31%, while Hong Kong and Shanghai stocks showed mixed price movements. South Korea's Kospi was little changed. I think the negotiators between the U.S. and China are going to reach a deal, but it will take a lot longer and be more difficult than investors thought a month ago. And any glimmer of hope that progress is being made will help stocks rebound in the future.
Got it. Well, meanwhile, the British Prime Minister Theresa May has announced that she's stepping down. No-deal Brexit remains a possibility, and we have the EU elections showing a move away from the centrist parties. How have the markets reacted to the news from Europe?
The prospect of a no-deal Brexit was fast becoming the central battle of the race among contenders to succeed Prime Minister Theresa May, with 4 of 8 leadership hopefuls having said Britain must leave the EU on October 31st, even if this means a no-deal Brexit. The British pound was steady at $1.27, having regained some ground after May set out a departure date, bouncing back from 4.5-month low of $1.26 set on Thursday. Pro-European Union parties held on 2/3 of the seats in the EU Parliament elections. Euro was little changed at $1.12 in Asian trade and off a 2-year low of 1.11 cents per euro touched on a Thursday as the market studied the outcomes of the vote. The focus is on how the EU member countries will react to the result of elections and how the Brexit negotiations will play out after these elections. So far, we've seen limited market reaction as far-right populist parties didn't do as well as some had feared.
Meanwhile, Trump and Abe meeting in Tokyo as the trade tensions between the U.S. and China continue to rise. We've got the Bank of Korea policy meeting coming up. What are stock investors going to want to watch this week?
President Trump will hold a summit with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today in Tokyo after meeting with King Naruhito. Investors are paying attention to whether President Trump will issue a trade pressure card in this meeting, as the U.S. trade deficit against Japan has been seriously rising. Tokyo and Washington are working on a bilateral trade agreement, but Trump has said he does not expect major progress on it until July, when Abe's ruling bloc faces an election for Parliament's upper house. The Bank of Korea will hold a monetary policy meeting on this coming Friday, with a majority of bond traders expecting the BOK to leave its key rate unchanged. However, investors and traders will closely watch the BOK meeting for whether it will provide hints about a monetary easing later this year. On Tuesday, May Consumer Confidence Index, Dallas Federal Reserve Manufacturing Index, along with March S&P Case-Shiller House Price Index will be released. Investors will need to pay attention to those indexes.
All right, Dr. Hwang, we'll be watching for those numbers to come out, but that's where we'll have to leave it today. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.